Well, this is not going to be nearly as exciting as this one, which was a fabulous session, but I'll try to do my best. We've been teaching public speaking for a long time at the University of Vermont. My predecessor, who was there for over 40 years, even longer than me, believed that he taught more people public speaking than any other individual in human history. Now, I don't know about that, but it's been going on for a long time. And there were some fairly consistent problems. People didn't want to take the course, and then when they were forced to take it, they didn't like it. So, this is a problem because it's hard to argue, and there are specific majors that have to take public speaking. And so we think everybody should have public speaking. We think everybody needs oral communication skills. But it was hard to argue that to the administration because they would go, look, students don't like it. They don't want to sign up for it. They rate it poorly. You guys must be bad. So we're not going to have you do more of it. So we decided to try something. Go. Believe that communication is living. And it doesn't matter whether you're hearing or speaking or whatever, but communicating is living. And students communicate all the time, but they're very unfamiliar with the kind of communication assignment they had in a public speaking class. You talk all the time to your parents, your friends, whatever, and then all of a sudden you're in front of a class speaking and everybody's watching you. And you're very unfamiliar with that situation. And also, I think there's something psychological about everybody watching you. If you think about in your earlier school experience, when did everyone turn and watch you? Generally when you said or did something stupid or bad. Right? And so there's a reaction like, everybody's watching me, something must be wrong. And so students are just apprehensive about this situation. So what they normally do quite well, all of a sudden, they can't do very well. Studies in America show that people fear public speaking more than anything else. And they fear public speaking more than death. Well, why? Because death is coming eventually, but you might be able to avoid public speaking. And the one I like to use is, most Americans would rather hold a large snake than to give a public speaking. So it's serious. Now, universities require these courses, but the university realizes the student spirit, and they don't want to require, if you're competing for students, you don't want to require students to do something they don't want to do, and so it's hard to get this done. It's important, I just thought I'd drop this in my role as an evangelist for oral communication skills, more important for job success than our specific technical skills. Oral communication skills rate number 1, computer skills rate number 17. 97 survey of personnel managers found oral communication will rank as the most important factor in helping graduate students obtain employment. 500 alumni who earned their PhD found that conflict resolution, communication, and teamwork skills rating is vitally important. 1,000 faculty members from a cross-section of disciplines are asked to identify basic competencies that every college graduate should have. Skills in communication top the list, and I'm talking about oral communication. I'm not talking about written communication. No skill is more important to a successful career in business than good communication, and there's strong evidence to indicate that promotion is linked to strong oral communication skills. Also, it's important in family life. And I thought, well, there are often debates in the family, maybe we could have some debate skills too. Some of the barriers to instruction that we thought existed in the current model that we were using is that the course is required. I don't care what it is, if you require students to do it, there's some level at which they're not going to want to do it. Right? That's just the rebellion of youth. I remember that long ago. And there's forced to speak in front of audiences, there's standalone one-way presentation, everybody's watching them. It's an alien situation. This combination of innate fear, unfamiliar context, and requiring the class makes it a high anxiety situation. All those factors go together, and it's not pretty. And the instructors are like, man, what kind of job? I'm making these kids do this thing they deeply fear and don't like, and they cry, and all these other negative responses. Students dread taking the class. They don't want to take it. They commune with each other during the class. Oh, man, you have to give a speech? Yeah, I have to. Oh, boy, isn't this awful? Oh, I know. It's so awful. We're all going to have to give speeches. Now, and the other thing we found is they would delay taking the class as long as possible, which is a terrible thing, because I think the oral communication skills would help them in their higher level classes, seminars, classes where they have to have more participation, where it would be nice if they had better oral communication skills, but they didn't, because they delayed as long as possible. And if you're forced to take it, then when you evaluate the course afterwards, they didn't evaluate it very high. Now, since I arrived there 30 years ago, we managed to drive the evaluations up considerably, but there seemed to be a barrier we could not go above. And in trying to persuade our university that everybody needs oral communication skills, we needed better student evaluations for these courses, because my university, although it is selective and one of the more expensive universities in America, still is very concerned about their customer base. So, the original course was mapped out in the 1980s, it hadn't been changed, it was required, there was a lot of anxiety, people didn't like it, and we noticed that other classes similar, like an argumentation class, you seem to have to give a speech, but the evaluations were higher and there didn't seem to be so much anxiety. In persuasion class, you had to give a speech, but it just didn't seem, and you designed and presented a persuasion campaign, but there didn't seem to be these barriers. So it must be something about public speaking. So, now we didn't courageously decide to integrate debate into the public speaking class, because I thought people are afraid of debate. They're afraid of public speaking. They're really going to be afraid of debate. And that will just drive the evaluations down further. And it will make things even more grim. And maybe they'll want to cancel an instructor or something like that. Now, the debate program at the university has existed since 1899. And when I came in 1980, did I say 1899? And when I came in 1980, we've had a very active debate program, and we feel that we've been successful, and a lot of people don't like Colin Flynn's rankings of debate programs. I think it's fine, because we're number 7, so others don't like it because they're not as high, but get over it. And so, and there is no speech major. There is no speech communication major. There's a minor degree now that you can take in speech and debate. And every student at the university has to have a major and a minor. And so it's it's a minor degree, but once again, students are afraid of taking it too much. So in talking to my dean, she says, boy, the evaluations are really low in public speaking. You do debate well. Why don't you integrate it into the public speaking class? I said, are you sure? One student just trust me. Try it, see what happens. Now, since she made this suggestion, she was fired and replaced by somebody else. But the new person said they fully support her move, so we went ahead and did it. So, we went for it. Here's how we implement it. We cancel one or more of the major speeches. These are the 7 to 8 minute speeches that students have to give. Most classes canceled both major speeches. But they did continue to do shorter speech assignments, like a 1-minute toast and a 2-minute impromptu speech and some other types of things just to warm them up. But for the major speaking assignments, we replaced it with debate. We replaced it with VP, World Universities Debating Championship format, because we thought, hey, we get 8 of them to speak at once. So try it. And we had a feeling that getting more of them involved at once would make it feel more comfortable and more natural. We let them pick topics of interest. We helped them phrase the motion so they didn't come up with, dogs are better pets than cats. Right? After about 2 speeches, that gets pretty boring. So we wanted to have some decent, and we did give them orientation to the format. Not a lot. Right? There's been a couple of classes saying this is what happens, these are the burdens of the speakers. But we did show them all sample debate. We did not show on video. We did not show them a great sample debate. We showed them an okay sample debate. So that we wanted some of them to say, I can do that, which is exactly what we wanted them to say. We didn't want to show them the World Finals from Turkey, the press to show the full horrors of war, probably one of the best debates ever held. I didn't want them to see that. That would be too scary. Then we had them attend, we had a couple of public debates on campus, and we had them attend public debates on campus, and they were required to vote and write a critique. This was part of their assignment to the class. They did 2 debates in class. They had to watch all the class debates. They had to vote and rank the teams 1, 2, 3, 4, and assign points, and write critiques. This was their assignment, and these assignments were graded. We did evaluations twice during the term, informal evaluations. How's it going? What do you like? What do you don't like? What are you confused about? And then we had the formal evaluation at the end of the course that the whole university does. We did not have a pre- and post-test like Logan did. I think now we're ready for that, but we just decided in the beginning that we'd see if it works at all. Here's what the instructors thought. The instructors really noticed a reduction in anxiety. The students seemed less uptight, less anxious, less nervous. And the other thing is that in like give a persuasive speech, you would say, this is what you need to do in your persuasive speech. And sometimes they had a hard time implementing those guidelines. I think, and we think it's because they were so nervous, they couldn't really implement the guidelines. But we thought there was a much better implementation. Like we said, you need to signpost your speech, you need to have some rebuttal, and some new arguments. And they seemed to get that pretty well. So we thought that they followed our guidelines much better. People got more involved. It seemed more natural. You're standing up saying, yeah, I think we should do this. And then somebody stands up and says, disagrees with you. You go, what do you mean? Oh, So they got more, because it was more interactive, it was a bit more real life. They were arguing about something with someone. They could draw on previous experiences and not be so afraid. Now, before, when we had just had students speaking to the class was like, during all the speeches. But we found that the level of attentiveness, and they were still evaluating all the speeches back then, but they weren't paying very close attention. We found the debates to be much more engaging. They enjoyed watching them. They said they really liked points of information, conflict between 2 speakers, and so they paid more attention. And it's just my opinion, but I think they learned more because they were more engaged in watching what other people did. Whereas before, they didn't learn so much about a persuasive speech by watching someone give a persuasion speech. Less emergency absenteeism. Oh, my grandfather is really sick. We were glad to hear that the overall health of grandparents was improved by this change in the course. It made us feel a lot better. And we noticed that the students tended to be more prepared. Now, I would have thought that if you were standing up all by yourself to give a persuasive speech about how advertising portrays women in an improper way, you would get really prepared for that. But some students did and some students didn't. But they didn't mind looking bad in front of the class, but they seemed to mind looking bad in front of the class because Willie showed that they were wrong. Right? That adversarial nature tended to have them be more prepared. Here's what the students said in the written comments that they made, and especially comments from 2/3 of the way through the course after they'd all read one. It was fun. Now, they didn't all think it was fun, but a lot of them thought it was fun. And anytime they say public speaking is fun, winning, right? They said they enjoyed watching class debates. They said they learned a lot from watching the public debates and how this helped them. Oh, I see, they do it this way, I should do that. So it prepared them. They realized how shallow real-life political debates really are, which is, wow, this is so much better than that presidential debate I saw, or the gubernatorial debate. So the teacher was seen as like a cruel judge. But now the instructors seem more like a helpful facilitator. Oh, I'm helping you. More students came to office hours to seek help for the debates than ever came to receive assistance for the speeches. They said it was highly relevant to the public speaking situations in their life and their career and what they're going to do after. I'm not sure that they're right about what they'll need in the future, but they thought it would help them afterwards. And some of them indicated that they would join the debate team. Some of them did, not a huge amount, but we'll take it. The formal evaluations from the university, which is what we were interested in, and we did not have permission to share. I don't have permission from people who taught the class the old way and the new way, so I can't really use that data. But by instructors who had done it both ways, the evaluation seemed to indicate that they had a higher overall evaluation of the course. They liked the course better. After it had debate in it. They thought the instructors did a better job. And that's important to the instructors because they get merit pay increases if they teach better, and evaluations at our university are quite important. Really higher evaluations on there is a part of the evaluation that says, did the instructor explain the assignments clearly? And that one went up substantially once the results that we could see. And of all the things they did in the course, they rated the debates as their favorite part of the course. Now, I believe debate is fun. I feel everyone doesn't share that, and I may be a little strange in that regard, but it was good to see that they thought debate was the better part. Because the other assignments are actually quite fun. Like, make a toast at your best friend's wedding. You have 2 minutes. Or this other assignment was, you have a problem and a solution, and so one envelope has problems and the other envelope has a solution. So the problem you pull is national debt, and the solution you pull is Lady Gaga. All right, and then you have to make a speech. Putting those together, those are pretty fun assignments, very lighthearted. So I was concerned that it wouldn't be their favorite assignment, but it was. Conclusions. It's important. People are going to be successful. Don't believe this stuff about the 21st century is not the time for oral communication. It's more the time for oral communication now than ever. The inclusion of debating seems to improve instruction and skill transfer. Students are gaining a better understanding of the role of open debate in a civil society. Now debate is not that weird thing that other people do. It's a fun thing that they did. And I hope that means that they'll be more willing to take part in it. And we look forward to tweaking the course based on instructor and student feedback. We just ended our term in late December, and this was the end of the first semester of doing it this way. We had 5 sections of 25 students that we did it in, so we want to get more information in the spring, and then the following year we'll tweak the course and do a pre-test, post-test. Also, I hope to have gained permission from the instructors who taught it the old way, and I hope they don't change the evaluation form between those, so they'll be completely comparable. And so, there we are. That was us, and that's what we did. Thank you.
Well, no questions? Does anyone have any questions for Tuna?
Go. Yes.
Stop like angry birds.
I'm Jyoti from India. I'm a latecomer. Sorry for that. And what percentage of informal settings in which debate is taking place? I think it's more of formal. The debate is taking place in a formal setting. Now, what percentage of informal settings do you give to your students?
So what examples of informal settings do we give them? Well, we tried to make the class debates fairly informal. We didn't say, now the Prime Minister will address the House, or so we didn't do any of that. We were like, okay, shall we begin the debate? Okay, Joe, I think you're up first. So we tried to be, and make it seem, as informal as you can be in a classroom. So we're aware of that most of their stuff, most of their lifetime experiences will be informal, so we tried to make it informal. But your point is quite well taken. That most of their points will be, most of their opportunities will be fairly informal. And when we got a couple of answers like this, like now I'm making a business presentation and the boss asks me a really difficult question, I'm going to be more confident in giving my answer. Because I had to answer tough points of information in the debate. And I learned to speak on my feet. And it's not about, there's a special technique for speaking on your feet. It's like just not being nervous. So the answer that you have can come out. And so we thought that was something that contributed to it as well.
Do we have any other questions? I'm wondering, the World University Debate format has a 15-minute prep time. And so I'm wondering if you stuck to that, or if you announced topics before.
No, they had their topic like 2 weeks in advance.
Okay. Did you give them instruction on kind of research, or how did that work?
We gave them instruction on how to build their case, but we didn't really teach them how to research, because assuming they're college students and they do research papers, they already sort of know about that. But we did tell them, this is the kind of structure that you should use, and these are kind of what your argument should look like. I think every student at university should take a class called Critical Skills, which involves speaking, listening, note-taking, and research planning. I think that's essential, but we didn't think we could do all that at once.
I think it's great that the feedback is more positive. My question is, does this mean, what is the impact of their ability to make public speeches? So now they're more comfortable having debates, but does that mean they will still be more comfortable making public speeches, or they're still more afraid, would still rather hold a snake than make a public speech?
Well, that's your study, not ours, and I can only look forward to doing a pre and post test on speech apprehension and willingness to speak. But we had to infer from the feedback like it was fun. I liked it. As generally people are more likely to do things they think are fun. So I'm hopeful, but it's not statistically proven. Nothing is statistically proven by this exercise.
In your experience, do you find a difference in the level or the types of fear that people have correlated with the ethnic background, whether they're Asians or Americans, political setting of the country, or various issues like that?
Those would really be anecdotal things I could suggest. I would say that Vermont is supposed to be the whitest state in the union, so I don't know if we have that much ethnic diversity, but in my experience, Vermonters tend to be worried about embarrassing themselves. Students that I've worked with in Iraq seem to be more worried about doing a bad job and embarrassing their families. That's just an anecdotal generalization I'm making. So we don't have really good data on that. But I assume culture is an important part of it. But I can't verify that. And it is the whitest state in the union. But we're working on that. But it's a very friendly place, and the State Department has, for over 25 years, thought that Vermont is a great place to settle asylum refugees. So whatever conflict's going on, then we get people from the former Yugoslavia. We have a bunch of boy soldiers from South Sudan, and people who were evacuated from Vietnam at the end of the Vietnam War. So it's a pretty friendly place, but not diverse enough.
I'd like to go a question.
What's the relation between having a successful competitive debate program on campus and the success of this? I guess the relation between the two.
What's the relationship between having a successful competitive debate program on campus and having this? I think the dean encouraging us to do it was a recognition that we have a successful competitive debate program. So she was like, you do this well, why don't you do this in the classroom? But most of the students don't really know that we have a successful university debate program. We're under-publicized. I'm not complaining now. It's just the reality. We're not flashy. Like when my team is in the National Final Four, it's not as important as when our ice hockey team is in the National Four. Whoa! Right? So we just don't have the publicity. No students thought, oh, this is a great debate team. Okay, I'll be able to do this debating in class. I don't think that happened. I would say, we had 150, I would say 8 or 10 join the debate team. We generally have between 40 and 60 students on our debate team.
I just have a quick question. When they prepared for these debates, were they preparing as teams? Like the 2-week preparation period, was it a team preparation? Or?
They were not supposed to prepare as sides. They prepared as 2-person teams. They selected their own partners. We tried to stop them from preparing with the other team or colluding amongst the 4 teams. They did come to see the instructors during office hours to get advice on how about this argument, will you like this? And we thought the number of office hour visits went up.
Right.
We thought that was good.
Right. Also, just a follow-up question to that, not that question, but you said this was essentially a redacted VP format, in the sense that it was really parliamentary, but certain parts were taken out. Were there reasons that those parts were taken out?
The only part we took out was 15 minutes prep.
Okay.
Otherwise, 7-minute speeches,
okay.
And we demand, unlike Sam Block, we demanded 2 POIs.
Right. Does anyone else have any
questions? Yes. Tuna. Alright, it doesn't take a genius to know that debate improves your public speaking skills. However, many universities are unwilling to recognize this. So how are people supposed to prove quantitatively that debate indeed increases your employability by giving you some public speaking skills? How do you do that?
I think it does, but that's anecdotal. Our challenge was the university said, how can we offer, why is this a good course if students hate it? If students don't like it, why is it a good course? Because they equate, if students take a course that they like, that means it's a good course. Evaluations are a very important part of our university planning. So that's the problem we were addressing. So I think that if you take a public speaking course, whether it's debate or not, you'll get better. But that's not within our purview. Our challenge was, how can we make it more enjoyable, more real life, and more successful for the students who do have to take it. And now that we've done this move, I want to try to compare, because we do have lists of students from the past, and if I have a measure, I can send it to students in the past, or we can have some sections that don't have debate and make that comparison later. But this was the beginning we had.
Right. I think that's all we have time for. Thank you very much, Tuna. Thank you. We're going to take